The recent weather event in Houston has caused the Solid Waste Management Department to operate in what we call disaster recovery mode. We have standard operating procedures for events such as this, and the winds and the rains have set us in motion. We are on location at our emergency center, the hub of where everything gets done. Were you or someone you know affected by the recent storm in our area? You'll want to stay tuned to find out what we're doing to help you address your concerns. Hi, and welcome to Wasting No Time on HTV. I'm your host, Sharon Moses. This recent rain event was quite sporadic, but it managed to affect approximately 127,000 homes in the Houston area. Now the question is, what do you do if your home was one of those affected by this storm? How do you begin to mitigate those damages? Here with us today we have City Council member Larry Green of District K. His district was one of the most affected districts in the area, and he's here to provide information for those overwhelmed by the recent events. Councilmember Green, thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So tell us about what's going on in District K.
So our district, as you said, was one of the most affected, and there are residents there. Over 1,000 homes were flooded. And so we are working with our residents, our constituents, to make sure they have resources or that they are connected not only with the FEMA effort, but also the City of Houston effort to ensure they get back to their lives. And so we continue to put out information. I want to thank you for having me on so we can share some information with them.
What type of concerns are you getting from your constituents? What's going on out there?
Well, we, of course, heavy trash, right? So I really want to thank the Solid Waste Department for working with us. We know that they've sent out extra crews and will continue to do that until the waste is picked up and removed. But also too, with regard to flood damage, we're seeing a lot of folks who are looking to rebuild their area. And, of course, if you are in a floodplain, which a lot of my district are, you definitely, before you rebuild, you want to make sure that you contact the flood plain group with Public Works to get that permit, because you need permits to rebuild. And once you get that permit, then you can rebuild.
I want you to say that one more time, because you do have a lot of constituents in the flooding zone or in those zones.
Exactly.
Before they rebuild, before they begin to rebuild,
right.
What is it that they need to do?
They need to call the Flood Management Office, the Floodplain Management Office within Public Works. They should have received a letter, but if they didn't, you can contact our office at 832-393-3016, and we can forward them to the right department to make sure to assist with getting the required permit.
Now, Councilmember, why is it important that they contact them before they begin to rebuild?
So you don't want to contract with a vendor to rebuild the home and then have the City of Houston come in and either red tag it or flag it and then have to come in and redo work. And so you want to make sure that it's signed off by the City of Houston prior to moving forward with the reconstruction of your home.
Very good. And you're working closely with Solid Waste. We're picking up the debris.
Absolutely. You guys have been incredible. Solid Waste has been incredible by working, weekends, extra hours, bringing on more crews. And so we continue to work with our residents. Some of it is just not a one-time pickup. You still have folks who are in their homes who have yet to clear it out, waiting for insurance adjusters or FEMA adjusters to come in and do what they need to do, and then the waste will be on the street. And so it's a series, if you will, of having to deal with that type of waste. And so we will continue to work with our residents to make sure, and Solid Waste, to make sure we get it picked up as quickly as we can.
Now, you were elected to this council in 2012, correct? This is a newly created district.
Yes.
And you have already added well over $20 million to this district for the economy?
Yes, over 20, yes. Yeah.
With this recent flood or this event, how is that affecting the bottom line? Is it at all?
Well, again, we have some challenge, some parts of our district flooded, but there are other parts that, were fine. We know we have a challenge with Brays Bayou and Project Brays, which is the deepening and widening of Brays Bayou. and we'll continue to work with Harris County Flood Control District, the Army Corps of Engineers, to make sure that project is fully funded. We believe once that project is complete, that we will have the capacity that we need to hold the actual water and to really prevent a flooding event as we just had.
Now, see, I read that the Harris County Flood Control District said that they had about 11 inches of rain over the Brays Bayou,
Yes.
Beltway 8 areas. Is that about an approximate number?
Absolutely.
So as you make these future infrastructure repairs, will that be preventable in the future?
It will be preventable. We used to see these same type of flooding events with Sims Bayou, and because we have just finished that Sims project with the Army Corps in Harris County, it had the capacity, and we sustained. We were able to really sustain the water within the banks at Sims, and none of those homes flooded. So we know what the solution is. It's just a matter of getting it done.
And how many constituents are in this area?
So in that area, we're looking at maybe about 120,000 residents.
It's a lot of people.
Yes, it's
How many
substantial.
homes did you say? About 1,000 homes?
1,000
Somewhere like
homes,
that?
correct.
Now, in order to be a city council member over a district,
Right.
you have to live in that district.
Right.
How did you fare?
I fared well. So, I mean, we did not have any, well, we flooded, but, again, it was contained to the streets, and so it didn't come into the home. So we were good.
Glad to hear that. Is there anything that you would want the residents to know, maybe some important information, what they need to do to move forward through this event?
Absolutely. We're having a series of meetings, and so just make sure you go to our K at districtk.com for additional information. We'll be putting out information via our newsletter. And so if you'd like to get a copy of our newsletter, you can call our office at 832-393-3016, and we'll add your email to the email distribution list, and you'll get copies of our email.
Final question. Have you gotten pretty much all the calls from the affected residents, or you think there's still new calls coming in?
We think that there are new calls coming in with different questions. First was, immediate relief. Now we're looking at more long-term permitting issues, FEMA issues, and so we continue to work with the residents to make sure that we're that conduit between them and government to make the transaction move smoothly.
I said final, didn't I? Have one more.
That's fine.
This is hurricane season. Did this flood get you ready for the next set of, hopefully, non-events?
I think so. I hope so. City departments, of course, are on high alert. Again, we know we still have challenges with capacity in Brays, and so we will continue to monitor that. But again, we work with our residents to let them know and to really put out information that will be helpful during this hurricane time. So continue to watch out for our newsletter and also informational meetings that we will have throughout the district.
And one more time, put your number out there for us.
We are at 832-393-3016.
Thank you so much, Councilman.
Absolutely.
It's a
Thank you
pleasure
for
to have
having
you
me.
on the show.
Yes.
Well, more disaster recovery when we return. Stay tuned. We're in disaster recovery mode at our location at our Emergency Center Hub. We're here to help you, our residents, make it through the latest storm event. Now, the hardest hit areas were in southwest Houston, including District K and District C. But that doesn't mean that other areas weren't affected as well. Mark Stafford, Chief Executive Officer from the DRC, Disaster Recovery Contractors, he's here to talk to us about the steps you need to take wherever you are in the city if you have debris concerns. We also have DeMarcus Glass, Deputy Assistant Director of the Solid Waste Management Department's Northwest Service Center. He's here to help us sort through this information. Thanks to both of you for being here. I'm going to go ahead and get started with you, Mark. I understand that this is probably not your first Texas storm rodeo, right?
It is not.
You're with DRC. What is DRC?
Well, we're an international disaster response company. We've been around for roughly 25 years. We have 250 or so contracts throughout the United States. We do some international work as well.
So you're with the city. You guys are working together, DeMarcus, is that correct?
It's a partnership.
It's a partnership. How do you work together, DeMarcus, with DRC?
We just put together a plan to collect the debris the most efficient way, identify areas, and we subcontract it to them, and it's kind of partnership. Yeah.
Subcontractors, so you're debris contractors, correct?
That's correct.
Mark, you're picking up debris all around the city of Houston. Probably the worst areas?
The worst areas is where we're assigned.
What are some of those locations?
Well, the Braeswood area has been the most predominant area, the one affected most. But we've been in other pockets of the city that have had similar effects.
Braeswood area, I understand they were hit pretty badly over there in the southwest Houston area. Do you know how many cubic yards you've already picked up from those locations?
Well, we've picked up approximately 61,000 cubic yards in total, the vast majority coming from the Braeswood area.
Wow. DeMarcus, what are we doing in the city to help our citizens get their debris up? How are we being proactive in this event?
Well, we got information online. They call 311. 311 plays a vital role in all the information related to the city. Any concerns you have with any city services, 311 is your information
I'm glad
outline.
you said that. So if a homeowner is having trouble maybe rebuilding or getting things out of their home because of the flood, do they need to call DRC directly?
No, everything goes to 311.
311. And when they call 311, what information are we looking for?
Location, what type of damage, what type of debris do you have, what part of the city.
What type of debris? I'm glad you said that. Mark, what type of debris are you seeing out there in the field?
Predominantly it's construction and demolition. We refer to it as C&D debris, but there's also vegetative debris. There's household hazardous waste, your household chemicals and the like. And there are white goods also.
White goods are?
White goods are refrigerators, freezers, washers, dryers.
Okay, and now I'm glad that he pointed that out because I want to direct a question to you, DeMarcus. The types of debris that he just mentioned, how does a citizen put that out? How does a resident put that out? Do we throw it all in one pile?
And we asked that it all be separated into 6 different piles. And one within this would be electronics as well. And we try to separate what's going to the landfill and what can be recycled.
Recycled? You mean some of this can be recycled?
Of course.
Mark, I read that in, 2008, you were here for Ike and you collected our debris. 100% of it was recycled, is that correct?
We're very proud of that, yes. 5.6 million cubic yards, and that's hard to even imagine, were collected within the city limits of Houston, and we recycled all of that debris.
So then we're looking probably into the future or the current time, the present now, assuming that all of this debris that's being put out can possibly be recycled as well, correct?
Correct.
How do we recycle this? Let me come back to that question. Let's go back to the putting it out on the curb. If you haven't separated your debris yet, but you've already placed it on the curb, do you go back in and separate it? Any one of you guys can answer that for me.
We're not asking that you separate it. Once you went through that manpower to put it out there, we're just going to take it as is.
Okay, so now let's go back. Recycling. How do we recycle what's out there on the curb at this point? Looks like a bunch of garbage and junk to me. It's wet, it's carpet, doesn't look like it's any good.
The C&D actually goes to the landfill, but the vegetative is recycled through LETCO. The electronics and the C&D are recycled through private contracts that we have a contract with throughout the city.
Is that one of the reasons that we're asking that the debris be separated, Mark?
That's correct.
And that way it's
Because
easily...
they go to distinctively different locations.
Okay. How are we helping the residents, DeMarcus, as far as giving them information and reaching out to them? How quickly did we get started on this program?
Well, within the first week, the floods, the rains, the 25th, 26th, and we set up camp here maybe by Wednesday, and by Saturday we had our first pass that we were picking up. So all the information was online, flyers, on the home website.
Okay. DRC, were you here from the beginning?
We were.
Okay. And currently now, how many trucks do you have? Do you have that information? What's going on out there?
Sure. We began with a larger stock of equipment than we have operating currently, but we began with 50, we call them double barrels. They're 100 cubic yard and larger trucks that self-load themselves. There's a grapple mounted between the two boxes, and I'm sure they've been seen quite often down the streets of Houston. But so they're very efficient, and it requires very few personnel to load, and that's how we get it done.
What tips can you give to the residents that will maybe help them a little bit get through this a little bit easier? Being out there in the field, seeing the work, is there anything we can let them know that they might need to do, maybe to simplify the process in regards to their debris?
You want to take a shot at that first?
Yeah, we're just making sure it's clear, that the roadway is clear, it's not apprehended by any trees or any vehicles, anything like that, to make our job a little easier, and then we can get it recovered and get them back to some normalcy.
Makes sense to me. You've been with GRC for a while.
Yes.
Any suggestions, maybe having gone all over the world, I assume, looking at disasters?
Well, from a safety perspective, I mean, you want to stand clear of this equipment while they're operating. They're cumbersome. They take up a large piece of the roadway. So stand clear. They'll get their job done and they'll move on. It's quite surprising how rapidly they can load these boxes and move on. So cooperate and get out the way.
Okay, we're going to wrap this up, but do we have a projected time frame for ending?
Well, I think we're looking at the end of the month. I think the vast majority of the waste debris has been removed. There's still going to be a trickling of debris coming out as contractors do their work on some of the flooded homes. So we can expect it showing up at a decreasing rate, and we'll be around to collect it as it comes out.
Each pass, different passes, once or twice, will go through the neighborhood several times, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you so much for your time. I know you guys have to get back out there in the field, but it's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, did you know this is the first Level 1 emergency activation in 7 years? Level 1 is the highest in a 4-tier level of our Emergency Operations Center activation. The last time the City of Houston was activated to Level 1 was during Hurricane Ike in 2008. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. In the studio with us now is Roger Bush. Now, Roger is with the Small Business Administration. He works closely with FEMA. If you can't get a grant, maybe you can get a loan. Roger, thank you for coming in and talking to us today.
Yeah, and thank you for having us come in, because we do need to get that word out. It gets a little confusing. We are the Small Business Administration. However, when we say that, we do make loans to small businesses of all sizes, but the major part, especially in a disaster like this, it's going to be to homeowners and renters. And when we come into play is we encourage everybody, the first thing to do is to get registered with FEMA. FEMA will kind of guide them around the system and tell them what they're going to be eligible for. A lot of people will be referred to the Small Business Administration even though they don't own a business. They might be just a homeowner, renter.
So don't let the name scare you away.
Correct, correct. And it's a big step in this procedure. If they do not complete that application, if they are told by FEMA that they're getting the application, they need to fill it out. It's very important. And the reason is if we get the loan application approved, it'll go through our system, but if we decline them, and a few people will probably be getting declined, we refer it back to FEMA for other assistance needs.
Thank you so very much, and I just want to reiterate what you said. If they want assistance from FEMA, and FEMA sends them to you, they need to fill out the loan, whether they get approved or not, because that's going to send them back to FEMA. Is that correct?
If they're declined for whatever reasons, they'll be referred back to FEMA.
Wonderful. Thank you, Roger, so much. How does someone get in touch with you? Is it just FEMA alone, or do you have a direct line?
We have 3 different ways that we can apply, but for individual assistance, the most important thing is to register with FEMA. Gotcha. You have that number, and plus we have 2 centers, and I believe FEMA has probably indicated to you the 2 centers that are up and running right now. We have loan reps there too. It's always better face-to-face to get this information needed. Going into the center, they can talk to the FEMA reps, they can talk to the Small Business Administration reps as well.
Roger, thank you so much for making it out here today.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
You bet. Thanks for helping us.
Well, you heard it from here. FEMA, Small Business Administration, contact them if you need them. They'll help. FEMA is here, and with that, I could say, enough said. You know, when the Federal Emergency Management Agency steps in, then Houston, we have a problem. However, since Houston is a city of solutions, we've invited Daniel Yargis, Public Information Officer of FEMA, here to tell us about the role they play in this emergency and how the residents can get some much needed assistance. Thank you, Daniel, for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity, Sharon.
So FEMA, do you only step in when there is a disaster mode?
Well, after a declaration signed by the President, FEMA mobilizes with all this funding available to those affected by the flooding.
Okay, so welcome to Houston. I understand that you have regions for FEMA, correct?
That's right. We are divided into 10 different regions around the country. Texas belongs to Region 6.
Number 6. It's a pretty big region.
It is. Region 6 covers Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, and New Mexico.
So tell us about where we are, Houston, right now in this flood disaster.
Well, we are in the response mode.
Okay.
We're asking for those individuals and families that were affected by flooding to register with FEMA. Take the time. It only takes a few minutes. There's 3 ways to do it. They can do it online, disasterassistance.gov.
Okay.
They can call the 1-800-621-3362 number, 1-800-621-FEMA, or they can do it with their smartphones. If they download the app, they can apply for assistance through the app.
So there are 3 ways, and I want to just go back over that one more time. We can do it online if they have computer access. If they don't have computer access, then you can dial the number, and we're going to list the number on the screen. So if you'll say the number for me one more time, please.
1-800-621-FEMA, 1-800-621-3362.
Or they can use their smartphone.
That's right, and we are opening up disaster recovery centers along with the city officials and state officials. So to find out if there's a disaster recovery center close by you, you can call it 1-800-621-3362, and we'll let you know where the disaster recovery center is, so you can talk to us in person.
Let me talk to you about FEMA. Are you guys giving grants where there's like free money? Some people are confused about loans. What exactly is FEMA's role in this aspect?
When there's a disaster declaration, FEMA mobilizes assets, people, and grants for the recovery process. And then we come in with the Small Business Administration. We are in charge of the grants. We ask people to register with FEMA to see if they qualify for a grant. However, the Small Business Administration will come in with low-interest loans for the community for those affected by the storm. Now,
and when you say SBA, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but I got to get clarification here. The SBA, Small Business Administration, the loans will go to residents, businesses, commercial. How does that work?
Right, that's what I was going to say, that these loans can go to renters, they can go to homeowners, they can go to business owners, nonprofits. So not everybody's going to get a grant that applies for assistance with FEMA. Now, some people might refer to the SBA so they can see if they qualify for a loan.
Is it credit-based on some level? Or when you say grants, is it poverty level? How does, when you look at the grant level, how do you get a grant over a loan?
Well,
is that a strange question?
Well, every family and every situation is different depending on the damage that was caused to their houses.
Because everybody wants grants.
Right, and some people, right, I mean, they don't want to have a loan to pay back, but FEMA is not going to make you whole. That's the reason why the SBA comes in for this recovery process. Some people might have insurance in their property, and still we encourage them to go ahead and apply for assistance with FEMA. In some cases, some survivors might get a payment from their insurance company, they might get a grant, and an SBA loan, the Small Business Administration loan, so they can get back on their feet.
Okay, so I guess if a resident has homeowner's insurance, it shouldn't deter them from trying FEMA first.
Right. We do want to see what the insurance is going to cover because we do not duplicate benefits. So once the insurance company covers the damages, FEMA might cover some of the uninsured losses. But we encourage them to apply and to submit the application so it can be in our system already.
And how do they get in touch with? Do they call you directly, Daniel, or is it that 1-800 number sufficient?
Right. They can call the 1-800 number to submit the registration. They can come into the Disaster Recovery Center. They can go online, or they can use their smartphone if they have one.
And going through the city of Houston, is that necessary to your knowledge, or is it coming straight directly to you?
They can come straight directly to FEMA, yes.
Okay. Is there anything that you would like to let the residents know, maybe, that they're not aware of in regards to the FEMA program?
Yes. The whole process is free. We don't charge for any of this. When people register with FEMA, we are going to send an inspector out to the property. So, Sharon, it's super important for survivors to know that the inspectors will not charge anything to conduct the inspection.
I'm glad you said that. We need to address the fraud issue. Is there a lot of fraud around FEMA and people coming out to say, hey, I'm a FEMA representative? How does that work?
Not only that, but some contractors too. You see a lot of contractors come to the disaster area trying to take advantage of the situation. So we ask people to make sure that they know that they're talking to a FEMA representative. When the inspector comes out, they're not to charge anything for the inspection. After that, if they were granted funds from FEMA, make sure that they know who the contractor is. Make sure that they do their homework. Some of these contractors will charge very little money, but the quality of the work might not be as well.
I was reading that I think you can look up a contractor, the Better Business Bureau, to see if there are any complaints on the contractor, so you would also suggest they do that first. How can they confirm that it's a FEMA representative? I mean, I guess anybody could wear a shirt, Daniel.
Right, but we have the badges, and make sure that you ask for that badge before you let anyone into your house, and make sure that they identify themselves and that they are not going to charge you a penny for the inspection or for the whole process to register with FEMA.
That's great information, Daniel. And what about bilingual assistance? I assume that you guys would have that as well.
We do. We have information in 3 different languages, Spanish, Chinese, and Vietnamese, for those that need the information in those languages as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And you're set up in Houston helping us out for this event, right?
I am
This great
happy to
event.
be here, and we'll be here helping and assisting people as needed.
Quick question, and I'll let you go. Is this just flooding that you found in Houston, or is that the only one that you're responsible for? Is it wind damage and all types of damage that they have for their homes?
Well, actually, 23 counties were declared for this disaster in Texas, and we go from Dallas to San Antonio to Houston to Austin, and some of the damages were flooding, some of them were tornado, some of them were winds, so you can see all types of damages.
So the important message is to reach out to FEMA and find out if you are available to get information from them for their grants and stuff.
Right, the important message is that if you suffer damages, if you lived in one of the counties that were declared, submit the registration. Some people think that they didn't suffer that much damage and they're just gonna fix it and take care of it. They might qualify for a grant from FEMA.
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Now remember, June 1st kicked off hurricane season, and as we've just witnessed, storms are often unpredictable. So keep gas in your tank, water, and non-perishable food items in your home. Be on the ready, and remember, turn around, don't drown. It does more than rhyme, it just makes sense. If after this episode you still have questions, please call us at 311. To further assist you, we have provided some information on our website at www.houstonsolidwaste.org. Information is also on our Facebook page at Houston Solid Waste. Even Twitter may be useful to you. Look us up at Houston Trash. I'm Sharon Moses, and this is Wasting No Time on Location. Stay safe.